You won't believe how a couple of old lawn chairs spiraled into a neighborhood. Drama so absurd, it ended with the mayor himself sitting right in the middle of it all. What started as a simple way to enjoy my backyard turned into a clash with the HOA, whispers from my neighbors, and ultimately, yes, you heard right, a mayoral photo op. But before we get there, let me rewind and show you exactly how this wild story began. It all started one Saturday afternoon. The sun was shining, the breeze was just right, and I thought to myself, why not bring out the old chairs? Now, these weren't fancy patio loungers or high-end outdoor furniture. Nope, these were two humble, slightly weathered lawn chairs I had kept for years. They weren't glamorous, but they were sturdy, comfortable, and, honestly, full of memories. Every summer barbecue, every lazy evening, those chairs had been there. So I set them up in the yard, poured myself a glass of iced tea, and leaned back. To me, it was perfect. To the HOA, apparently, it was a crime. A few days later, I received a letter. It was stern, bold, and stamped with authority. Unapproved lawn furniture. They claimed my chairs made the neighborhood look unrefined. Can you imagine? My old, faithful lawn chairs, accused of lowering property values. At first I laughed. Surely they had bigger problems to deal with. But the letters kept coming, each one more serious than the last. Violation notice. Final warning. One even threatened fines. That's when I realized this wasn't just about chairs. This was about control. And it didn't stop there. Neighbors began to gossip. Some whispered that my eyesore furniture was making us all look bad. Others defended me quietly, saying it was ridiculous to police lawn chairs of all things. Suddenly, my little backyard became the epicenter of a brewing neighborhood storm. But here's the thing. I wasn't about to back down. These chairs weren't just metal and fabric. They represented my home, my right to enjoy my own space without judgment. So I decided to stand my ground. What I didn't know then was just how far this would go. The HOA thought they could shame me into submission. Instead, they accidentally set the stage for a showdown that would draw attention far beyond our cul-de-sac. And that's when the mayor entered the picture, literally. The first time I realized this chair situation had gotten out of hand was during our HOA's monthly meeting. Usually these gatherings were quiet affairs. A handful of neighbors, lukewarm coffee, and someone reading minutes no one really cared about. But this time it felt different. The air was tense. The HOA board sat in a stiff line, their expressions a mix of disapproval and smugness. And right there, projected on the big screen, was a picture of my two lawn chairs. I almost laughed out loud. They had taken photos of them, like my yard was some kind of crime scene. But then the mocking began. One board member chuckled, calling them yard relics. Another said, "If we let this go, next thing you know, we'll have rusty trampolines and plastic flamingos everywhere." The room erupted in laughter. Neighbors who had shared meals at my table, people I'd waved to for years, were now smirking at my expense. I felt my ears burn, but instead of shrinking back, I spoke up. Those chairs are on my property. They're safe, clean, and they're mine. Since when does the HOA get to decide what memories I keep in my yard? The room went quiet for a second. Then someone muttered, "It's about keeping standards." But I could see doubt flicker in a few faces. Not everyone was convinced that two old chairs were worth this drama. What happened next, though, was unexpected. A neighbor, a quiet guy who usually kept to himself, pulled out his phone and snapped a photo of the screen. He posted it online with the caption, "HOA declaring war on lawn chairs." Within hours, the post spread. People couldn't believe this was real. Comments poured in, half ridiculing the HOA, half defending homeowners' rights. By the next day, it wasn't just our neighborhood talking about it. Local news sites picked up the story. Headlines like, "HOA versus lawn chairs, the battle of the suburbs," started appearing. Suddenly, my two chairs weren't just chairs anymore. They were symbols of privacy, of freedom, of standing up against unnecessary rules. The HOA panicked. They sent out another letter, this time dripping with desperation. They claimed the viral posts were misrepresenting the situation. But the damage was done. People were invested, and the HOA had become the punchline of their own joke. As for me, I hadn't planned for any of this. All I wanted was to sit in my backyard without interference. But now, my chairs had become local celebrities, and I had no idea the biggest twist was still ahead. The day the mayor himself decided to take a seat. By now, the whole neighborhood knew about the chair controversy. Some found it hilarious, others frustrating, but no one could deny. It had become the topic of conversation. My yard had turned into a sort of landmark. People drove by slowly, craning their necks to get a glimpse of the infamous lawn chairs. Kids on bikes would point and laugh, and every so often someone would stop to snap a photo. At first it felt strange, but then something shifted. People began leaving supportive notes in my mailbox. One card said, "Don't let them take away your comfort." Another read, "This is about more than chairs. It's about standing up for yourself." The quiet wave of encouragement fueled me, and I realized I wasn't just fighting for my yard, I was fighting for everyone who'd ever felt pushed around by rules that made no sense. It wasn't long before the local news crews showed up. One morning, as I sipped coffee on my porch, a van pulled up and out jumped a reporter with a microphone. She wanted to film a segment about the legendary lawn chairs. Laughed at the absurdity, but agreed. That night, I turned on the TV to see my chairs on the evening news, broadcast across the entire city. The clip gained traction. It spread on social media, sparking debates about homeowners' rights and overzealous HOAs. Memes started popping up. My chairs edited into movie posters, political rallies, even space launches. The internet had adopted my humble furniture as a running joke. But underneath the humor was real frustration. People were tired of being told what they could and couldn't do in their own homes. That's when City Hall got involved. The mayor's office released a statement saying they were monitoring the situation. At first, I thought it was just a polite way of brushing off the media frenzy. But then, an invitation arrived in my mailbox. Official letterhead, city seal and all. It read, "We cordially invite you to attend the upcoming City Hall community meeting. The mayor would like to address concerns raised by recent events." I couldn't believe it. My lawn chairs had landed me on the mayor's agenda. When the day came, the council chamber was packed. Cameras lined the back wall, reporters jotted notes, and curious residents filled every seat. When my turn came to speak, I stood tall. "This isn't about chairs," I said, voice steady. "It's about the right to enjoy your home without someone deciding your choices aren't good enough." The room erupted in applause. And then the mayor stood up. What he did next stunned everyone. The chamber grew quiet as the mayor walked toward me. Cameras flashed, people whispered, and the HOA board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. No one knew what he was about to do. He didn't speak right away. Instead, he gestured toward the back of the room. To my shock, 2 staff members rolled in something covered by a cloth. When they pulled it off, the entire room gasped. It was one of my lawn chairs, my exact model, faded fabric and all. The mayor looked at me, then at the crowd, and smiled. "Sometimes the simplest things cause the loudest debates," he said. Then, in front of the city council, the press, and a packed audience, he sat down in that chair, calmly, proudly, like it was a throne. The room erupted in applause, cheers, even laughter. The HOA board's faces turned red, but the mayor wasn't finished. "Folks, this is not an eyesore," he continued, leaning back comfortably. "This is a chair. It's meant for sitting, and if a man wants to sit in his yard on a chair like this, he should be able to do it without letters, fines, or ridicule. We need to focus on what truly matters in our communities, not waste energy policing someone's backyard furniture." The applause was deafening. People were on their feet, clapping, whistling, cheering. For the first time since this madness began, I felt vindicated. The HOA had tried to humiliate me, But here was the mayor himself turning my lawn chairs into a symbol of common sense. Reporters swarmed as soon as the meeting ended. The headline the next day read, "Mayor takes a stand by taking a cool seat." Photos of him lounging in my chair spread across every news outlet and social media platform. What had started as a petty HOA squabble had become a citywide moment of unity and humor. The HOA? They backed off. Completely. No more letters, no more threats. In fact, a few weeks later, they quietly updated their bylaws to remove restrictions on outdoor furniture styles. My neighbors, who had mocked me before, now smiled sheepishly when they walked by. Some even bought lawn chairs that looked exactly like mine, almost as if it had become a badge of defiance. And me? I still sit in those same chairs, every evening, glass of iced tea in hand, watching the sunset. But now, when I lean back, I don't just think about summer barbecues or quiet nights. I think about the time my old lawn chairs turned into a citywide symbol, and the mayor himself sat down to prove a point. It all started with 2 simple chairs and ended with a story I'll never forget. Enjoying this wild HOA versus lawn chair story? Tap subscribe so you don't miss more. Real-life neighborhood dramas told just like this. If this made you laugh, or made you roll your eyes at HOA rules, drop a like. And tell me in the comments, have you ever had an HOA or neighbor give you grief over something this small?